Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Plink. I respond to various theological and ideological questions and claims from a rationalistic and naturalistic approach in an effort to give and explain the opposite viewpoint and help to balance the conversation. This is Matt Powell. Matt is a young Earth creationist. He genuinely believes that the Earth and the entire universe is only 6,000 years old. Matt is also totally convinced that there was a global flood and that all life that survived was Noah, his wife and his family, and 2 animals of each kind that made it onto Noah's Ark. And that all the life, including the entire human race today, all came from those scant few survivors, thus making all of humanity the product of rampant incest. Matt is also rather famous for having a giant inflatable banana in his backyard that he's named Dr. Peel. He has actually anthropomorphized a latex fruit inflatable, even conferring upon it a PhD, although in what field, we aren't sure.
I mean, you may as well just paint yourself yellow, run around like a maniac, and call yourself Banana Man, because that's what you're doing.
Oh, and he also believes that Kent Hovind is a good and decent person. So now that we're all clear on where Matt's head is at, he's got some thoughts on how atheists are living in a world of fantasy. And as of this recording, I'm gearing up to head to Comic-Con for the weekend, so since the Venn diagram intersecting atheists and fantasy fans has me sitting in the dead center, I couldn't let this mildly incoherent rant go by unaddressed. So, what have you got to say for yourself, Captain Banana?
One of the things that has really stuck out to me recently is the fact that these atheists that I'm dealing with on the internet, about 90% of them always have these posters of Final Fantasy or Mario Kart or Super Mario Brothers in their background of their videos.
Well, what are Christians likely to have hanging on their walls? Something more like this, probably. You know that this is complete fiction too, don't you? And I'm not even talking about from an atheistic standpoint, but even if Jesus did exist, he certainly didn't look anything like Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees.
The fact is that this crowd has really never grown out of Toon Network. They haven't grown out of Nickelodeon. They've got Marvel Comics hanging everywhere. They never grew out of Super Nintendo. I mean, this is the crowd that we're dealing with.
Because you would never buy into or be interested in anything so ridiculous and fanciful, right, Matt? I mean, these fantasy fans are into stuff like Hercules. Not just the mythical hero, but a character who's been turned into a Marvel superhero. I mean, a guy with superhuman strength, blessed by God, who traveled around performing superhuman feats of strength, like wrestling a lion with his bare hands and fighting villainous foes. I mean, it's crazy. Not something Christians would ever be into. Well, except for, Samson and all, who kind of did the exact same thing. But at any rate, that's not important. Those fantasy fans, they're into weird video games like The Legend of Zelda. Yeah, crazy stuff in that one. I mean, get this. It's about this young boy who has to face down armies of bad guys and a giant of a warrior whom nobody else can defeat because of his awesome power and strength. And this little kid, with often nothing but his trusty slingshot, has to face him down single-handedly to win the day. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? Fluff and nonsense. Nothing a Christian would care for, certainly. Well, I mean, kind of the story of David and Goliath when you think about it. But no, let's not focus on that. Let's move on. These people, these fantasy fans, they're into silly kid stuff, right? I mean, stuff that only children should like. Fantasy fluff like the Chronicles of Narnia, Literally kids' books that have been turned into a film trilogy. It's grossed over $500 million from the films alone. And this stuff is crazy, right? Like, there are talking animals, witches, and there's this, messianic character called Aslan who comes to deliver the world from evil. eventually sacrifices himself to persecution, torture, and death in order to pay for the sins of others, only to be resurrected from the dead days later. Totally crazy nonsense, right? What?
I figured it would be appropriate to really point this out because this is the same crowd that's coming after your children right now. The reason that they create cartoons and try to tell you why the Bible's wrong is because they want to infiltrate the minds of the youth. They want to change their mind. They want to get them thinking that there is no God. Misery loves company.
So, your claim is that atheists who seem to be fans of fantasy, sci-fi, or supernatural fiction are only pretending to be into those things in an effort to appeal to the youth to coax them away from God? So let me get this straight. Atheists, specifically YouTube atheists, who pretty much just make YouTube videos about atheism, which are not rated for children, but happen to have some fantasy or video game-based art in the backgrounds of their walls, are engaged in a concerted effort to sneakily appeal to children with their t-shirts and action figures that are visible in their videos. That they don't even actually like this stuff, they're just trying to get the youth to follow them. That is your claim. I'm sorry, Matt, but I just don't think that's going to work. I mean, the kids clearly aren't even watching these kinds of videos. They're too busy watching Minecraft live streams and TikTok dance trends to see some Bowser poster hanging on a YouTube atheist wall. You know what might be a better strategy to indoctrinate the youth into a particular philosophical mindset? Maybe having youth groups and vacation Bible school where they learn catchy songs and fun, fanciful stories. Or going to their schools and giving rallies and motivational speeches that promote one ideology, even though doing so in a public school setting is supposedly illegal. Or producing a popular cartoon series with a variety of anthropomorphized produce, something right up your alley, going on fun adventures that subtly, or not so subtly, impose the theological message that you want them to adopt. These things might work a lot better at indoctrinating the youth into a particular way of thinking, right, Matt? But you're right. We are the ones trying to appeal to the youth with our Mario Kart pictures on our walls. Yeah, sure, okay.
We're dealing with a crowd of people that are literally stuck in their childhood, and they've never grown out of it. But of course, this is the first crowd to tell us that the Bible's wrong.
I'm pretty sure there have been plenty of crowds saying the Bible is wrong for quite a few years now. I mean, take your pick. Jewish people, Muslims, Hindu, Buddhist, Sikhism, Wiccan, neo-paganism, and basically all the world religions that don't follow the Bible. But, I mean, to be fair, you're obviously talking specifically about atheists, and you're totally right. I mean, there were never any prominent atheists before the advent of video games.
This is the first crowd to come to tell us that dinosaurs farted themselves to death, or that squids and octopi rode on a comet from outer space into our Earth and crash landed to evolve and to continue their evolution on Earth. Of course, the crowd that tells us that the Bible is incorrect and that Jesus was just a man and not God is the very crowd that believes that monkeys made a sea voyage from Africa to South America on rafts.
Despite your horrible mangling of these ideas and using rhetoric that paints them in the worst light possible, there's a weird conflation going on here. You're saying that the video game-loving, fantasy fan, atheist crowd are the ones saying these things about dinosaurs, squids, and monkeys. There's another more accurate term for the people putting forth these hypotheses. It's called scientists. The claim of dinosaurs farting themselves to death is an incorrect assessment of the claim. I mean, they only said that methane produced by dinosaurs would have warmed the climate, not that it killed them. So that's a misrepresentation on your part. But the point is that those were findings of biologists and climatologists. And the monkey rafting hypothesis was the result of work done in Peru by anthropologists out of the University of Southern California. I mean, just look at those guys there on that boat. Nerds!
Get those nerds! Nerd! Nerd!
I mean, if you insist on lumping us internet atheists in with some of the smartest people in the world, doing some of the most important research into anthropology, biology, and physics, well, I for one will gladly accept the association.
I mean, give me a break. You know, it just, to me, I don't even know what to say.
Dude, you know you can edit out those exasperated brain farts so they don't clog up your video, don't you? But then, of course, you wouldn't be able to capture your incredibly persuasive argument from personal incredulity into your video, because that's not a fallacy of logic or anything.
Internet atheists and non-believers, I tried, okay? I tried my best. I can honestly say that I've tried my best to help you understand the world around you. If you don't want to understand the world around you, if you want to continue living in Toon Network land or Nickelodeon land like your posters have demonstrated, I can't help you.
We will have to muddle through life without your help then, Matt. But maybe you could send out Dr. Peel to write us a prescription.
And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Matt, we've seen enough of your interests over the years to know the kind of fanciful nonsense that you espouse. You believe in the aforementioned stories of David and Goliath, Samson, and Jesus with all of his magical powers and miracles. You believe in Noah's Ark and the global flood. You believe in angels and demons and Nephilim and talking snakes in the Garden of Eden. You believe in summoning pillars of fire and people being turned into pillars of salt. You believe in plagues and ghosts and witches. You believe in zombie Jesus because he rose from the dead, complete with unhealed wounds. No, wait, he was actually more of a vampire because drinking his blood gave eternal life. No, wait, actually, he was more of a wizard because he could perform magic. Well, at any rate, in short, you espouse all kinds of fantasy and magic yourself, just as, if not more, out there than anything we show personal fandom towards. But here's the critical difference. Unlike us, you actually think the fantasy that you're attached to is real. So that's all that Matt Powell has to offer for us today. And as is fairly common for Matt Powell, it didn't amount to much besides ad hominems, gross misunderstandings and misrepresentation of scientific discoveries, and a heaping helping of personal incredulity. Do us a favor, Matt, and go back to riding your banana, or whatever it is you and Dr. Peel get up to in your spare time. So thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe so you'll always be notified when a new video comes out. Until next time, I'm Professor Plink, reminding you to keep striving for greater understanding. It's the best way to get wherever you want to go.